The studio lights burned bright against Prince Harry's face, but he wasn't nervous, he had done countless interviews before. Sitting across from him, Anderson Cooper leaned slightly forward, his expression calm yet piercing, his voice smooth but sharp. The cameras were already rolling, capturing every gesture, every pause, every ounce of tension that hung in the air. "Prince Harry," Anderson began, adjusting his papers but keeping his eyes locked on the Duke of Sussex. "Your book, your interviews, your life away from the royal family, there's been no shortage of attention. But let's start with the one question everyone has: why now? Why expose so much of your private life in this moment?" Harry inhaled deeply, clasping his hands together. "Because silence only helps those who want to manipulate the narrative. For years, I've stayed quiet. I've watched lies spread unchecked. This isn't about revenge, it's about telling the truth." Anderson gave a short nod, but his tone shifted slightly, carrying a sharp edge. "Yet critics argue that by telling your truth, you're damaging your family, the very institution you claim to respect. They say you've turned private grievances into public spectacle. What do you say to that?" Harry's jaw tightened. He had prepared for this, he had known this question would come. Still, the sting of accusation never got easier. When the people closest to you refuse to speak up for you, when the press hounds your wife and endangers your children, you have no choice but to defend yourself. "If defending my family means upsetting others, so be it." The room grew heavier. Even off camera, staff members exchanged cautious glances. Anderson leaned back, folding his arms. "You've painted yourself as the protector. But some would argue Meghan knew what she was getting into when she married into the royal family. Do you take any responsibility for placing her in that position?" Harry's lips parted slightly in disbelief. "Excuse me." His tone was firm, almost incredulous. "Are you suggesting my wife should have expected abuse, racism, and death threats as part of the package? That's not marriage. That's not duty. That's cruelty." Anderson didn't flinch. "I'm saying public figures live under scrutiny. You've lived under it since birth. Wasn't it naive to think Meghan could avoid the same?" The words struck Harry like a blade. He leaned forward now, his voice tightening with every syllable. "Naive? Anderson, let me tell you what's naive. Naive is thinking an institution rooted in centuries of control and secrecy would willingly protect someone who threatens to modernize it. Meghan didn't fail at royal life. The institution failed her." The producer signaled for a break, but neither man moved. Anderson pressed on, lowering his voice slightly, though the bite remained. "You say the institution failed her. Others say you walked away because you couldn't handle the pressure, that you abandoned your duty for personal comfort. Is this really about protecting your wife, or about rejecting responsibility?" Harry's eyes blazed. He could feel the frustration boiling inside, the same frustration that had followed him across the Atlantic, through headlines, and into every interview. "Responsibility," he snapped. "I served in the military for 10 years. I've walked behind coffins, shaken hands with grieving families, faced bullets in Afghanistan. Don't talk to me about responsibility. What I rejected was hypocrisy." The room went still. Even Anderson hesitated, just for a moment. Then he leaned forward again, his tone cutting sharper than ever. "So, are you saying your father, the King of England, is a hypocrite?" That was the spark. The one question Harry had hoped would not surface so bluntly. His hands curled into fists. His voice rising before he could temper it. "I'm saying the system, his system, is built on hypocrisy. You smile in public, but you let lies spread in private. You defend the crown but not your own children. If you call that leadership, then yes, it's hypocrisy." The cameras caught every word. A producer rushed forward, whispering urgently to Anderson. But the host waved him off, eyes never leaving Harry. "Then let's be clear, Prince Harry, are you accusing the king of failing you as a father?" Harry stood suddenly, the chair scraping against the floor with a sharp screech. "Don't twist my words," he said through gritted teeth. "I came here to speak truth, not to be baited into attacking my family. If you can't respect that, then this interview is over." Gasps rippled through the crew. Anderson, still seated, looked up at him calmly, though his voice carried an unmistakable challenge. "If you walk out, people will say you couldn't handle tough questions. They'll say everything you've claimed is just another performance." Harry leaned across the table, his voice low, furious, and unwavering. "Let them say what they want. I'd rather walk out with my integrity intact than sit here and let you spin my life into your soundbites. Security shifted uncomfortably at the edges of the set. Anderson straightened his papers, speaking louder now so the cameras would catch it. Ladies and gentlemen, you've just witnessed Prince Harry storming off 60 Minutes. Perhaps the real story is not about truth, but about avoiding it. The cameras captured Harry turning sharply, walking off set, the microphone still clipped to his jacket as voices called after him. The sound of the studio door slamming echoed louder than anything that had been said. The interview had ended, but the firestorm was only beginning. The silence that followed Prince Harry's abrupt exit was deafening. The crew sat frozen, cameras still rolling though the subject was gone. Anderson Cooper, ever composed, shuffled his papers with deliberate calm, masking the storm he had helped ignite. Within hours, clips of the confrontation hit social media. A 30-second reel of Harry standing up, declaring the interview over, and storming out was replayed millions of times. The hashtag Harry storms off trended worldwide. Some defended him. He's finally standing up for himself, one user tweeted. Good for Harry. Enough of the press twisting his words. Others were merciless. Can't handle the heat, another wrote. This proves he's weak. All talk, no accountability. By the following morning, every major news outlet carried the story. Headlines screamed. Prince Harry explodes on 60 Minutes. Royal walkout. Duke refuses Anderson Cooper's tough questions. Did Harry just burn his last bridge? In Montecito, Meghan sat on the sofa scrolling through the flood of coverage. Her phone buzzed non-stop, friends, publicists, even distant acquaintances asking what had happened. She exhaled deeply as Harry walked into the room, his face pale with exhaustion. Harry, she began gently, what were you thinking? He sank onto the couch beside her, running a hand through his hair. I wasn't going to let him corner me into attacking my father on live television. That's not what I agreed to. He pushed me, over and over, until I had no choice. Meghan's eyes softened, but her voice carried concern. But walking out, now they'll spin it as if you couldn't face the questions. You know how they work. They'll use this against us. Harry leaned forward, elbows on his knees. I don't care. I'd rather be accused of walking away than be forced to betray my family. I won't be manipulated like that. For a moment, silence lingered. Then Meghan placed her hand over his. You have every right to stand up for yourself, but we need to be strategic. Every step we take is magnified 1,000 times. One wrong move and they'll twist it beyond recognition. The royal reaction. Meanwhile, across the Atlantic, the royal family watched the drama unfold from behind gilded palace walls. Reports suggested King Charles was disappointed but not surprised. Royal aides scrambled to prepare statements, yet the palace remained characteristically silent. The unspoken rule held firm: never complain, never explain. But privately, sources whispered of growing frustration. One aide was overheard muttering, every time he opens his mouth, he digs the hole deeper. Prince William, according to insiders, was furious. This is exactly what I warned him about, he told a close friend. Every interview turns into a spectacle. He says he wants privacy, yet he can't stop talking. In contrast, Princess Diana's old friends who still followed Harry's journey expressed sympathy. One remarked in a televised panel, what you saw was Diana's son refusing to be boxed in. He inherited her fire. Whether you call it reckless or courageous, it's the same spirit. Media frenzy. Back in the US, media analysts dissected every frame of the walkout. Body language experts claimed Harry's clenched fist showed suppressed rage. Others noted Anderson's calm demeanor, framing him as the professional who exposed Harry's volatility. But not everyone agreed. A prominent commentator argued, Anderson baited him. Harry's a human being, not a punching bag. We can't demand authenticity and then attack him when he shows emotion. Talk shows ran heated debates. On one panel, a guest defended Harry fiercely. Walking away is not weakness. It's power. He drew the line. Another shot back. No, it's immaturity. A future king wouldn't storm off. He'd stay and answer. The internal battle. Days later, Harry and Meghan were spotted leaving a charity event in Los Angeles. Paparazzi shouted questions as cameras flashed. Harry, do you regret walking out? Are you afraid this will ruin your reputation? Harry ignored them, but once inside the car, Meghan turned to him. You need to respond. Silence won't work this time. He stared out the window, watching the blur of lights pass by. If I respond, they'll twist it. If I stay silent, they'll say I'm hiding. What's the point? The point, Meghan said firmly, is controlling the narrative. If you don't, they will. Tell your story your way. Not theirs. And so, a week later, Harry released a statement. I walked off because the interview stopped being about truth and became about provocation. My intention has never been to attack my family, but to speak honestly about my experiences. I will always protect my wife and children. That is my duty. The statement reignited debate. Supporters praised his courage. Critics mocked the word, duty, pointing out the irony of a prince who had stepped away from royal life invoking responsibility. Yet behind closed doors, Harry wrestled with doubt. Late at night, he paced the living room, replaying the interview in his mind. Could he have stayed calmer? Should he have answered differently? One evening, Meghan found him standing by the window, staring into the dark. Harry, she whispered, you can't keep beating yourself up. You did what you thought was right. He turned to her, eyes weary. But was it right? Or was it just anger? Sometimes I wonder if I'm running from the institution, or from myself. Meghan stepped closer, wrapping her arms around him. You're not running, you're fighting, and fights are messy. But the fact that you care this much means you're still on the right path. The world responds. Weeks later, a new poll showed the public split down the middle. Some admired his stand against media provocation. Others felt the outburst proved he lacked the steadiness of a true leader. But in charity circles, Harry's reputation held strong. Veterans he had served with defended him passionately. One soldier wrote online, he's been through worse than a TV host. If he walks away from disrespect, that's his choice. He's earned it. Even in Hollywood, reactions poured in. Some celebrities messaged Meghan privately to say they understood. Others avoided comment, wary of being dragged into the royal storm. Harry's realization. One crisp California evening, Harry sat in the garden, watching Archie chase butterflies while Meghan rocked Lilibet gently nearby. For a moment, peace wrapped around him, soft and warm. He realized then what mattered most wasn't the headlines or the interviews. Not Anderson Cooper, not critics, not even the palace. It was this, his family, safe and free. He turned to Meghan with a faint smile. You know, I think I finally understand. All those years in the palace, I thought duty meant bowing to tradition. But real duty, it's here. Protecting you. Protecting them. Everything else is noise. Meghan squeezed his hand, her eyes shining. Then let the world make noise. We'll live our truth, no matter what they say. And those storms of controversy would come again. Harry felt something he hadn't felt in a long time, certainty. Whatever battles lay ahead, he had already won the one that mattered most. The right to live on his own terms.